One. Well, first, the summit is only as good as the quality of people that attend. So I'd like to ask everyone to join me in giving a round of applause for incredibly hard and great work. Professor Aurelio, thank you. The big theme of today's meeting is making a change, making a difference. And I'm always grateful to have an opportunity to speak after I've heard people in the room, so I understand exactly what the interest focus area is, because all we do, we make what I've heard gentleman Carl say, impossible possible. So if I ask every one of you who spoke already, and we heard conversations about technology implementation, Enzo talked about that, we heard empowering women, we talked about health, we talked about alpha waves, Dr. Hart. My big question is, if I were to speak with you individually, what would you need in order to bring this solution into the world and actually help transform the world in the way that you'd like to? And our experience is that the feedback is always the same, because impact doesn't happen in conversations, right? It's only when the content that people receive gets implemented in real life across the world on a large scale that is sustainable, right? So every one of you would give me the same answer, which is you need access to capital, strategic partnerships, those who have great technologies like we heard about blockchain and other technologies, is access to new markets, governments, right? Decision makers, people who run countries, some of the biggest capital of the world. So this is exactly how and why this institution was created. Lives Amplified, for those of you who are not familiar with, it's a global institution of world leaders. It's the world's largest gathering of heads of states, presidents, prime ministers, other current, former senior government dignitaries, as well as some of the world's largest family offices and incredible human beings like many of you who are present here. And our sole goal is very broad and very simple: elevate the well-being of humanity, social, economic prosperity. But the way we approach it is unheard of in the history of humankind. And that is, in order to effectuate this change, we identify incredible individuals who have the capacity to make a difference, or maybe already making a difference, and we amplify their impact. And through that, we accomplish our goal of bringing social economic prosperity to the world. In fact, today in this room, we have a couple of our members, the incredible Pastor Burns, who is a co-chairman of our Interfaith Council, who's doing God's work with spiritual diplomacy. And I see in the back Alex Karatek, who, speaking of making impossible possible, but half a year ago came and said, I want to be the major player in rebuilding Ukraine, who is now chairman of Ukraine Reconstruction Summit and hosted incredible event in Washington, D.C., with governments from around the world, delegation from Ukraine, government Sweden, major investors, family offices. So what we do is we help with access, connections, access to capital, strategic partnerships, new markets, government contracts. We host events all over the world, where we started with Trump's inauguration. By the way, we're not Republican, we're not Democrats, we're not East, we're not West. 2 weeks ago, we had an incredible event in Miami. With every single event, we have president, prime minister of a country, some of the world's largest families, executives of multinationals. We had at the same table, where we had a small circle dinner with the president before the main event, people from White House, and at the same time, major family from Democrat family heading to China in December. So why is this all happening? Because in reality, in order to effectuate the change, it's really practically impossible to do it alone, no matter how brilliant or how much money somebody has. You really need a platform, you really need influence, credibility, access, connections to people who could facilitate that. Real change never came from top. It always comes from the bottom. But in order to effectuate the change and expedite so it doesn't take decades, and so that it's only not 1% or 1% or 1% or 1% who make a difference, right, able to get to that level, because the world cannot function on exceptions. This is why this institution was created. The board is exclusively presidents, prime ministers from all over the world, and we're here to support you. I'm happy to meet all these incredible people, hear your stories, and anything we can do, don't hesitate to come up to me. We're about to head to lunch. I don't want to hold anybody here, but it was a real pleasure to hear you speak. God bless you for this work, and anything we could do to help will be our honor and pleasure. Thank you.